The alien princess accidentally entered the human soldier's room, and now refuses to leave. The Alliance station floated quietly between three star systems, a giant ring of metal and light that never slept. Ships of many worlds arrived and left every hour. Some were small and fast, others huge and slow, carrying diplomats, soldiers, traders, and scientists. This station was meant to be neutral ground, a place where different species could meet without fear. For most beings, the station was confusing and loud. For the alien princess, it felt like a cage. Princess Elira of the Lyrathi people moved quickly through a narrow corridor, her long cloak brushing the smooth metal floor. Her skin shimmered softly under the white lights, changing color with her emotions. Right now it showed restless blue and sharp silver lines, signs of frustration. Two guards followed her at a careful distance. They were tall, armored, and alert. They followed her everywhere, always. "I only want some air," Elira said, her voice calm but tired. "The station has filtered air, Your Highness," one guard replied politely. "This section is restricted." Elira stopped suddenly and turned. Her eyes glowed faintly. "Every section is restricted," she said. "Every step is watched. I cannot even walk without permission." The guards exchanged a look but said nothing. Orders were orders. Elira turned away again and continued walking. She had memorized parts of the station by now. She knew where diplomats gathered, where officers trained, and where visiting species stayed. But today she wanted something different, something quiet. At the next crossing, she made a sudden decision. Instead of turning left toward the diplomatic wing, she turned right and walked faster. "Princess," one guard began. Elira slipped through a door just as it slid open for someone else. The guards reached the door a second too late. It closed with a soft hiss. Inside, the hallway was dimmer and much quieter. This was the human military section. Elira slowed her steps. She had heard many things about humans, that they were loud, that they were emotional, that they were unpredictable. Some species admired them, others feared them. Most did not understand them. She walked past several doors, each marked with simple symbols and numbers. No decoration, no guards standing outside. It felt empty. She stopped in front of one door when she heard movement inside. Voices, no, just soft sounds, metal, fabric. Without fully thinking, she reached out and touched the panel. The door opened. Inside, a human soldier stood near a small table folding a piece of clothing. He froze when he saw her. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The room was small, one bed, one chair, a storage unit. Everything was clean but plain. There were no symbols of rank or power on the walls. No luxury, just order. The human soldier was taller than Elira expected, but not intimidating. His uniform was simple. His hair was dark and cut short. His face showed surprise but not fear. "I think," he said slowly, "this isn't your room." Elira stared at him. She had expected shouting, or alarms, or anger. Instead, his voice was calm. "I may have made a mistake," she replied. The human nodded. "That happens." She blinked. That was all he said. Behind her, the door remained closed. The guards had not arrived yet. "I am Princess Elira of Lyrath," she said, lifting her chin slightly. "You should call for security." The human soldier looked at her for a long second. Then he shook his head. "If you want me to, I can," he said, "but you don't look like you're here to cause trouble." Elira did not know how to respond to that. She had spent her entire life being treated as fragile, dangerous, or valuable, never normal. "What is your name?" she asked. "Ethan Cole," he replied, "Human Defense Forces." "You are not afraid of me," she said. Ethan placed the folded clothing on the bed. "Should I be?" She studied his face. His heartbeat was steady. His posture relaxed but ready, like someone used to control without effort. "No," she said quietly, "you should not." There was an awkward silence. "You can stay for a moment," Ethan said finally. "If you want, it's quieter here." Elira's skin shifted to a softer color, surprised green mixed with pale gold. "You are offering me shelter?" she asked. I'm offering you a chair, he corrected, pulling the single chair back slightly. That's all I have. She smiled just a little and sat. For the first time since arriving on the station, no one watched her every movement. No guards, no advisors, just silence. Outside, her guards reached the corridor and stopped. She's inside the human sector, one said urgently. Which room? The other asked. They checked the door number. Inside, Elira looked around again. This place is small. It's enough, Ethan said. Do you not desire more? She asked. Status, recognition, power, he shrugged. I desire sleep when I get it, she laughed softly, surprised by the sound of it. You humans are strange, she said. We hear that a lot. Minutes passed, then more. Elira told him about Lyrath's floating cities and glowing skies. Ethan listened without interrupting. When he spoke of Earth, he did not boast. He spoke of oceans, rain, and long nights on watch. Eventually, footsteps sounded outside. Princess Elira, a voice called. Please open the door. Elira did not move. She looked at Ethan. If I leave now, everything returns to how it was, he nodded. Probably. If I stay, she continued, there will be questions. There usually are, he said. The door chimed again, louder. Elira stood. I am not ready to leave, she said firmly. Ethan looked at her, surprised but not alarmed. Then, he said carefully, you can stay a little longer. Outside, the guards exchanged worried looks. Inside the small human room, the alien princess sat back down. And for the first time in her life, she felt free. Alarms did not sound. No soldiers rushed the door. Still, tension spread quietly through the Alliance station like a slow shadow. The Lyrathi guards stood outside the human sector, speaking urgently into their communicators. Messages moved fast. Questions followed. Inside the room, time felt different. Princess Elira sat on the edge of the narrow bed, her hands folded in her lap. Ethan leaned against the wall, giving her space. Neither of them spoke for a while. The silence was not uncomfortable. It felt calm, like the moment before sleep. You are not calling anyone, Elira said at last. Ethan shook his head. You said you wanted quiet. You do not fear the trouble this could bring, she said. I understand rules, he replied. I also understand people. Elira looked at him closely. Her people believed humans acted first and thought later. Yet this man did nothing without care. His eyes stayed alert, but his voice remained gentle. On Lyrath, she was never alone. Even when she slept, guards stood outside her chamber. Advisors spoke for her. Decisions were made around her, not with her. Here, in this small room, no one told her what to do. She stood and moved toward the single window, which showed the stars beyond the station's transparent shield. So many worlds, she said softly. And yet I have seen so few. Ethan joined her, stopping at a respectful distance. Humans used to look at the sky and wonder what was out there, he said. Now we look at it and wonder how to stay kind. She turned to him. Is kindness valued among humans? It's not easy, he admitted. But yes, we try. Outside the room, a small group gathered, Lyrathi guards, Alliance officials, a human officer in a dark uniform. She cannot stay in there, one official whispered. It looks improper. The human officer folded her arms. She walked in on her own, no force, no threats. That is not the point, the Lyrathi guard said. She is the future of our people. Inside, Elira sat back down. Your room is very plain, she said. Ethan smiled faintly. It keeps my mind clear. She touched the edge of the bed, feeling the rough fabric. Everything here serves a purpose. That's how we're trained. Elira's skin shifted color again, slow waves of thoughtful blue. You do not treat me like a symbol, she said, or a weapon, or something fragile. Ethan looked at her. You're a person. The words struck her harder than she expected. No one had ever said that to her so simply. Time passed again. Ethan made a small cup of heated water and offered it to her. She accepted it carefully, curious. It tasted plain but warm. What will happen now? She asked. They'll ask questions, he said. They always do. The door chimed softly. Princess Elira, came a calm voice. "This is Ambassador Threx. We request dialogue." Elira stood slowly. She took a breath. "I will speak," she said, "but not alone." There was a pause outside. "The human soldier is not authorized." "He is my guest," Elira said firmly, "and I will not leave without him." Ethan blinked. "You don't have to, I choose to," she said. The door opened. The corridor outside was full of eyes, different species, different uniforms, all watching. Elira stepped forward with steady steps. Ethan followed, standing slightly behind her, not to protect but to support. Ambassador Threx, tall and silver-skinned, bowed slightly. "Your safety is our highest concern." "I am safe," Elira replied. "That is why I stayed," murmurs spread. "You entered a human soldier's private space," Threx continued carefully. "This could be misinterpreted." Elira raised her chin. "Then let it be understood." She turned toward the gathered officials. "This human showed no fear, no desire to control, and no attempt to impress," she said. "He offered quiet when I asked for silence, respect when I expected command." Ethan felt heat rise to his face but said nothing. "This room," Elira continued, "is smaller than my chambers. Yet inside it I felt more free than anywhere else on this station." The station grew very quiet. The human officer stepped forward. Private Ethan Cole followed protocol. He acted with restraint and integrity. Ambassador Threx studied Ethan. "You did not notify command." "I did not sense danger," Ethan said calmly. "Only someone who needed space." Threx nodded slowly. Later, Elira returned to the room with permission, not as a runaway, as a guest. The guards stood outside, farther away now. Inside, Elira exhaled. "They will watch more closely." "They always do," Ethan said. She smiled. "Still, this place feels steady." That evening they spoke more. Elira spoke of the pressure of being perfect, of carrying the hopes of an entire species. Ethan spoke of long training days, of standing watch while others slept, of learning to stay calm when things went wrong. "You carry much," she said. "So do you," he replied. For the first time she felt understood. Outside the human sector, conversations spread. Humans show restraint. They do not seek advantage. They treat power carefully. By the time the station lights dimmed to signal rest cycle, something had changed. Not loudly, not officially, but deeply. Princess Elira sat in the small chair, looking around one last time before leaving for the night. "I will return," she said. Ethan nodded. "You're welcome." As the door closed behind her, the galaxy began to see humans not as loud newcomers, but as quiet pillars. And that made some beings uneasy. Princess Elira did not return to the diplomatic wing as expected. Instead, she requested limited movement and formal observation status. This surprised many. Royal visitors usually followed strict paths. Elira chose otherwise. She spent her morning in council halls, her afternoon studying station systems, and her evening returning to the human sector. Each visit was recorded, each step analyzed. Ethan noticed the change immediately. "You have more guards today," he said as she entered his room. "Yes," Elira replied calmly, "and more eyes." Two Lyrathi guards stood at a distance outside the open door. They did not enter. That alone said much. Inside, the room felt smaller than before, not because it had changed, but because the galaxy was pushing closer. "They are worried," Elira said, sitting in the chair. "Not about my safety, about influence." Ethan leaned against the wall. "Influence scares people. They think humans act with hidden goals," she continued. "That this calm is a mask." Ethan smiled slightly. "Sometimes calm is just calm." Elsewhere on the station, the Alliance Council gathered in a wide chamber filled with floating lights and curved seats. Representatives from dozens of species spoke in low tones. "The princess favors humans," one said. "She spends time alone with a human soldier," another added. "This shifts balance," a third warned. Ambassador Threx raised a hand. "No laws have been broken." "Yet norms are bending," replied a tall delegate. "Humans are still new, unpredictable." A screen lit up showing a recording of Ethan's room. Nothing dramatic, just two figures talking quietly. "That is the problem," said the delegate. "Nothing dramatic." Back in the human sector, Ethan and Elira spoke about smaller things. "What is your home like?" Ethan asked. Elira looked thoughtful. "Beautiful, floating towers, singing air currents, and silence." "Silence, because no one speaks freely," Ethan nodded. "Freedom is loud sometimes." Elira smiled at that. Later that day, a message arrived. Princess Elira was summoned to a special council review. She read it without surprise. "They want answers," she said. "They always do," Ethan replied. She hesitated, then looked at him. "They want you there too." Ethan straightened. "Me." "They requested a human presence," she said. "You," he exhaled slowly. "I'm just a soldier." "You are the reason," she replied. The council chamber was full when they arrived. Ethan walked beside Elira, not in front, not behind, equal pace. Whispers followed them. "This is unprecedented. A soldier in council. They allow this," Ambassador Threx addressed the room. "This review concerns conduct, influence, and trust." Elira stepped forward. "Then allow honesty." She spoke clearly, her voice steady. "I entered the human sector by choice. I stayed by choice. I returned by choice." A delegate leaned forward. "Were you guided?" "No." "Persuaded?" "No." "Influenced?" Elira paused. "Respected." The word echoed. Ethan stood silently. Another delegate turned to him. "Human soldier, state your intent." Ethan met their gaze. "I had none." Murmurs rose. "No intent," the delegate pressed. "My duty is to protect peace," Ethan said. "Sometimes that means action. Sometimes it means doing nothing." Silence followed. A tall figure spoke next. "Humans are known for reaction, for force." Ethan nodded. "We are also known for learning." Elira added, "He never asked who I was before treating me as equal." That unsettled many. The council recessed. Outside the chamber, officials debated quietly. If humans gain this trust, they will change influence lines. They already are. Meanwhile, word spread through the station. Humans were calm under pressure. Humans did not demand status. Humans allowed choice. That evening, tension reached a breaking point. A minor systems failure shut down a transport ring. Panic spread quickly among visiting delegations. Different species argued over priority. Ethan was called to assist. Elira watched from a distance as human teams moved quickly but quietly. No shouting, clear signals, simple cooperation. Within minutes, the ring stabilized. No drama, no reward requested. A Lyrathi engineer turned to another. "They act like this is normal." "It is," the other replied. Later, Ethan returned to his room to find Elira waiting. "You were calm," she said. "So were you," he replied. She looked at him seriously. "They are afraid now." "Of what?" "Of humans becoming the standard," Ethan frowned. "That's not our goal." "That is why it is happening," Elira said softly. That night, a confidential proposal reached the council, a test, a symbolic challenge to measure trust. They would ask Princess Elira to choose a guardian species for an upcoming diplomatic journey. Tradition said she would choose her own. Politics suggested another powerful race. Instead, she chose humans. The announcement shook the station. Human Defense Forces did not celebrate, they prepared. Ethan received orders, escort duty, limited force, high responsibility. He read the message twice. Elira entered shortly after. "They approved," she said. Ethan looked up. "This will not be easy," she nodded. Change never is. Outside, the galaxy watched closely. Some hoped humans would fail. Others hoped they would not. Inside a small human room, a soldier and a princess sat quietly, knowing that whatever came next would not just test them. It would test what the galaxy believed about humanity. And the answer was coming soon. The transport vessel moved smoothly away from the Alliance station, its engines humming with steady rhythm. Outside the wide viewing panels, stars stretched into long lines of light. Inside, everything was calm, almost quiet enough to hear thoughts. Princess Elira stood near the window, her hands clasped behind her back. Her colors shifted slowly, showing focus and calm resolve. This journey was meant to be simple, a diplomatic visit to a neutral world. But everyone knew the truth. This was a test. Ethan stood a few steps away, checking systems and security panels. He wore no special markings, no symbols of honor, just a clean uniform and a calm presence. "You do not look nervous," Elira said. Ethan glanced up. "I am." She smiled faintly. "You hide it well." "We're trained to," he replied. "Fear doesn't help the people watching you." That was the truth. Every movement of this mission was being observed by the Alliance. Not openly, but carefully. Humans had been chosen as guardians not because they demanded it, but because they were trusted, or at least trusted enough to be tested. The first day passed without trouble. Human crew members worked quietly, efficiently. They did not boast. They did not act superior. They followed routines, double-checked systems, and respected every species on board. Elira noticed everything. When a Lyrathi attendant dropped a data pad, a human technician picked it up and returned it without comment. When a delegate from another world looked uneasy, a human medic offered water and stepped back without waiting for thanks. Small actions, big meaning. On the second day, the ship received an unexpected signal. An unidentified vessel appeared on the outer scanners. Ethan's posture changed instantly, not tense but alert. "Signal origin unknown," reported the pilot. "They are not responding." Elira turned from the window. "Is this danger?" "Not yet," Ethan said, "but we'll treat it seriously." Human procedures activated smoothly. Defensive systems powered up but remained passive. Communication channels opened wide. "Unknown vessel," Ethan said calmly into the transmitter. "This is an Alliance diplomatic transport. State your intent." No reply. The alien vessel moved closer. Across the galaxy, observers leaned forward. Some expected panic, others expected force. What they saw was patience. The human crew adjusted course slightly, placing themselves between the unknown vessel and Elira's quarters, not aggressively, protectively. Elira felt it immediately. "They stand in front," she whispered. "Yes," Ethan said. "That's the job." After several tense minutes, the unknown vessel finally responded. A damaged explorer ship, its systems failing, its crew afraid to speak. No threat at all. Ethan ordered assistance. Human engineers worked side by side with alien technicians. They shared tools, knowledge, and time. When the explorer ship stabilized, the humans asked for nothing in return. The moment passed quietly, but across the Alliance it echoed loudly. They chose help over fear. They protected without attacking. They did not use power to prove strength. By the time the transport reached its destination world, the test was already being answered. The neutral world was calm and bright, covered in shallow oceans and floating platforms. Delegations gathered as planned. Talks began. Throughout it all, the human guardians remained steady. Ethan stood at the edge of the chamber, not watching the speakers, but the space between them, always aware, always calm. At one point, a heated discussion rose between two species. Voices sharpened. Tension built. Before it could turn worse, a human mediator stepped forward, not to command but to suggest a pause. A moment to breathe. It worked. Elira watched from her seat, understanding something deeply. Humans did not control rooms. They steadied them. The final session ended without conflict. Agreements were signed. Pathways opened. The mission was a success. On the return journey, Elira asked Ethan to walk with her along the quiet corridor of the ship. "When I first entered your room," she said, "I thought I had made a mistake." Ethan smiled slightly. "So did I, but that mistake," she continued, "showed me something rare." "What's that?" he asked. "Strength that does not need to be loud." Ethan stopped walking and faced her. "We've learned the hard way that loud strength breaks things, and quiet strength builds them," she said. Back at the Alliance station, the return was met with attention, but not chaos. The council reconvened. Ambassador Threx spoke clearly. This mission has concluded. Observations are complete. He turned toward Ethan. Human soldier, step forward. Ethan did. You followed orders without seeking advantage. You protected without aggression. You showed restraint where others might have shown force. Threx turned to the council. Humanity has passed the test. A ripple moved through the chamber. Not applause, respect. Princess Aelira stepped forward next. I will speak plainly, she said. I do not refuse to leave the humans' room because it comforts me. She paused. I refuse because it represents what the galaxy needs. Silence held the room. A place where power does not demand obedience, she continued. Where protection does not require fear, where strength serves others. She looked at Ethan. Humans showed me that. The council voted. Humans were granted equal standing, not as newcomers, not as tools, but as partners. No banners were raised. No songs were sung. That was how humans preferred it. Later, Ethan returned to his small room. It looked the same. The bed, the chair, the quiet. There was a message waiting. Aelira's symbol glowed on the screen. Thank you, the message read, for the room, for the silence, for showing the galaxy who you are. Ethan sat down and exhaled. Outside, ships moved through the stars. And for the first time, many of them felt safer knowing humans were out there. Not to rule, not to dominate, but to stand quietly between chaos and peace. That was humanity, and the galaxy would never see them the same way again.